Now, there have been about 10,000 NGOs that are functioning in India and even abroad. We come across the name of Oxfam, Amnesty International. These are actually doing a lot in environmental protection. Now, the very guiding feature is that these NGOs, these CBOs is community based organization. I gave you an example of RWAs, wherein a lot of people can form a community, a small community, and they can actually contribute towards environmental protection. Again, giving an example of CBOs, let me say I am a student. Okay, I am a student studying in DPS. Okay, now I motivate all my fellow students that you need to be concerned about the environmental issues, and these environmental issues, they are a major source of our concern. So I motivate all my fellow students, I motivate my juniors, I also counsel all the staff members in my school, so that there is a complete sympathy towards the environment. Okay, there is no improper garbage disposal, there is no dumping of the waste on any river body, any water body. So I try to persuade the people around me in my community, be it a student community, be it a legal fraternity, be it a doctors community. So this is all what we mean by a community based organization, wherein you take the initiative, you take the lead, and you say that no, this is where environmental concern is primary, and we will try to protect the environment in any way. Okay, let me say I am living in a society and I find in the morning that everybody is using his own car, and in a big car there is only one person who is driving the car and the entire car is vacant. Okay, now I will approach the RWA, I will put up a notice that let us carpool. Okay, let us carpool so that we stop the CFCs to be emitted in the atmosphere. We can prevent global warming, we can actually reduce global warming if all such RWAs, say in Noida, say in Greater Noida, say in Delhi, they start doing all these things. Okay. Now again, I find that there are huge bungalows in my colony, there are flats in my colony wherein there are 4 ACs, 5 ACs, and everybody is sitting in their respective rooms. You know, these ACs, they emit all these CFCs, which is depleting the ozone layer. So I as a CBO, I as a community based organization, and even I as a public spirited person, I can motivate the people. What is this? Why are you wasting this energy, first of all the electrical energy, and then you are contributing immensely to this environmental pollution. So you should stop this. Again, as a matter of fact, I find that people are disposing garbage. Okay, and there are sweepers, there are workers, there are cleanliness workers who burn that garbage in open air, because they don't know that is the easy way how these people they dispose of their work. No, this is not done. When you burn this garbage in open air, it emits so many gases. Okay, when the plastic is burned, when the bottles are burned, it emits so many gases, and that causes acid rain. Okay, CO2, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, all these gases are emitted. The petrol when it is burned, diesel when it is burned, the CNGs when they are burned, all of them, they cause major pollutants which are released in the atmosphere. Okay. Similarly, we find people, they are throwing away the waste in the rivers. Industrial wastes are being discharged into the rivers, the water bodies. What is the implication of it? The implication of it is that it will be harmful to the aquatic life. What will happen to the aquatic life? What will happen to the fishes? So that is where the CBOs, the public spirited people, the NGOs, they can actually create an awareness amongst the people. I told you in the very beginning that this is not a deliberate approach on the part of us as a commoners. It is a casual approach. We don't understand the repercussion of it. We don't understand the implication of it. I may casually throw a Bisleri bottle in a river passing by. Okay, but I am not consciously doing this. I may be doing it very casually, very accidentally, not deliberately. So if there is some community, if there is some NGO, if there is some leader, a public spirited person who can actually cause an awareness on these issues, you need to cause awareness, you need to cause campaigns to happen, so that you, being a very active stakeholder in the environmental protection, you know what is to be done, what is not to be done, and how it is to be done. Okay, so this is something which spreads from way of mouth. I tell my neighbor tells somebody else, he tells somebody else, and this is how that entire chain is formed. And this chain, it starts from 1 and ends to 1 billion. So this is how the NGOs, the CBOs, the public spirited person, they have to be put into the picture. The government alone can't do it. So this is the very central theme of the module. I am not doubting the capacity of the government, but when the government is assisted by all these people, by the NGOs, by the CBOs, by me, by you, by anybody else, the effort of the government is surely going to deliver the best dividends. That is what is the primary concern of us in understanding the role of the NGOs. Now, these NGOs, it appears to be very fascinating when we are talking about the NGOs, when we are talking about the CBOs, we are talking about the PILs being filed in the Supreme Court, the High Courts. But when it comes to an actual understanding of it, these NGOs, I told you that there are about 10,000 NGOs that are stationed in India. Now, these NGOs, they may be stationed in India, they may be registered for a noble cause, they may be registered for environmental protection, for biomedical waste management, or for plastic waste management, or for a plethora of all such issues. But the problem comes that they are not able to cause an impact on the government. Why? Because most of the legislations that we have with us, most of the rules which we have with us, they don't incorporate the NGOs as a very active, necessary stakeholder in the environmental protection. Okay, there are some legislations. I don't doubt that there are some legislations. Say for an example, we have Environmental Protection Act, we have environmental rules, and there is a provision that whenever an industry has to take a clearance on waste management, you have to seek the opinion of an expert committee which has 15 members, at least 15 members, and one of them is required to be an NGO or a CBO. Now, this is how the legislation has given a statutory backing to an NGO. But this is missing in most of the laws. We have various laws. We have the Factories Act, we have the Air Prevention and Control Act, we have the Water Pollution and Control Act, we have the Atomic Energy Act, we have so many legislations, we have the IPC, Indian Penal Code is speaking for it. But as far as the role of the NGOs is concerned, we have not given them a pivotal position in our laws, in our rules, in our policies. So the necessary implication that flows out of it is, you don't have a statutory backing, you may be working on ethical considerations, you may be working on a societal condition, you may be working on principles based upon morality, but the very fact is that you don't have that teeth. Okay, in order to have an impact on the government, in order to have an impact on the policy decisions of the government, you need to be having strong powers. Otherwise, you will be giving only recommendations, and your recommendations may be falling on deaf ears. Okay, so when they are falling on deaf ears, you are wasting your energy. Okay, so this is one great lacuna. This is one great problem which happens in the field of utilization of the resources of the NGOs. Now, these NGOs, they need to be backed by all such statutory provisions. Maybe some rule is made which says that no, if an environmental clearance has to take place, you need to seek the opinion of a registered NGO, okay, or any foundation that is registered with the Ministry of Environment. Okay, so if that backing is given to the NGOs, they will be motivated and they will be given the power also to cast an impact on the government. Okay, so whenever the policy decisions are taking place, whenever the government is on to framing the policies, these people, they have to be given a pivotal role, not on paper, but in actuality, so that they can help a lot, and they will help a lot if they are given such instances. Now, I'll not hide the darker side of the NGOs also. There is a darker side of the NGOs and the CBOs and the public spirited person. Whenever the government is about to make a policy, it is very clear that whenever the government makes up its mind to come up with a policy, to frame a law, to create a law, the bill is referred to a standing committee, and that standing committee, a parliamentary standing committee, or whatever committee we name it, it asks for the expression of interest from the people as stakeholders. Now, often it happens that the feedback that is given to the government or the NGOs or the CBOs, they rope in and they come in a approach which is more or less of a confrontation rather than assisting the government. So this is the darker side of the NGOs. You should not be throwing weight on the government to actually pressurize them on doing something which is not very practical, which is not very convenient to the government. So this is the darker side of it, but this is only in a minuscule proportion. The bulk of it is that the government needs to be assisted very actively by these NGOs, and let this be on paper. By paper, I mean there has to be a statutory backing. Either you incorporate some legislative provision or you come up by way of some delegated legislation or a judicial guideline. There has to be a backing. Okay. So, this is how these NGOs, these entities, they can be actually instrumental in making us reach the target of having a clean environment. Okay. At the end, I would like to summarize whatever we have discussed. The primary concern for all of us today and for days to come is that environment needs to be livable. The atmosphere, the environment, the area where we live in has to be cleaned off as is concerned with the air, the water, the land, the aquatic life, the forest. There has to be a clean environment around us. We acknowledge the very role that has been played by the government, by various of the wings of the government, the legislative wing, the executive wing, the judicial wing. Everybody has tried to contribute a lot towards making our environment livable. But again, the government, all the wings, they have their own handicaps, they have their own restraints, and that is why we are not very much efficacious in protecting the environment. Now, this lacuna, this restraint, this handicap can be well contained if we rope in the services of these NGOs, these CBOs, these public spirited person. They can come in together with the government, they can join any campaign and they can educate the people, they can create awareness, they can counsel the people, the industry owners, the factory owners, so that you feel yourself to be actively involved in the environmental protection. What needs to be done is that everybody is made educated, is made aware that a casual approach on your part, maybe in your home, maybe at your workplace, maybe at your school, maybe at your employment office, how does it contribute immensely to degrading the environment? So, this the government can't do. The government can, the government is doing, but there are a lot of limitations with the government. The government is not actually very close physically to me or you or any public man. So, this is where a public spirited person can come in, NGO can come in, and you can be a link between the government on one side and the citizenry on the other side. So, you can create a bridge between the government and the citizenry so that the environment becomes livable. The entire future generations that have to come, they are secured, they don't face any crisis, and they get a healthy environment, they get a healthy life, and they get a better world for tomorrow. Thank you.